All right, folks. All right, folks. Can you hear me? Yay! I'm not doing my very white voice. I was going to start this off as good morning, class. I'm Preston Zepp. I am the historian for the city of Palm Coast. I'm a preservationist for Flagler County Historic Society. The lead for Kings Road Historic District, which pretty much covers all of Palm Coast for ITT. And with Heritage Crossroads Miles of History, basically our roadways through here. Everybody thinks this is going to be a controversial subject, and it might be. Everybody knows about the westward expansion, right? This is what was in the westward expansion. We had computer problems this morning, so let's see if everything's going to work now. How about that? Sort of past and future. This is where we're talking about. I love this thing. I'm like a little kid with a toy because it's a laser pointer. Just to give y'all some context, where are we at? That is US 1. I've had way too much coffee this morning. That is the railroad. Henry Flagler's Railroad is what I call it because that's what it was, but now it's FEC. This is where the westward expansion is going to happen. Pellicer Creek's up here. This is, I think I've got the only copy of this map. It was made in 1917, and it was the plans for Flagler County. Yep, there's the railroad. US 1 didn't exist yet. Nothing really existed up in here. But just so you have a context of what's going on. If y'all saw the city meeting, or the Loop Road dedication, Marion Worst talked about Pringle Swamp. That's right here. Pellicer Creek, Davis and Stevens, Pringle. So we're back to this, but closer up. Again, Flagler's Railroad, Pellicer Creek, Pringle Swamp. Pringle Swamp's one of our oldest areas in the county. Our oldest documented area is from 1768 Kings Road, which is, I maintain an original stretch up in here. Next spot is, I'm really coughing up this morning. Hewitt Sawmill, which was 1770. This is way before that. This map is from 1812. It was a survey. Again, Pringle Swamp. Just for a little context, L section's over here. B's down here. The railroad runs through here. Who lived there? No? Okay. Well, I said that twice. Oh, Pringle Swamp, bigger. These folks lived there. Timucan Indians. Pringle Swamp was a freshwater swamp. And as everybody knows here in Florida, especially now, we're dying for water. They would go to the wet areas, not just for hunting and fishing, but they were an agrarian society. They were farmers. And they would use Pringle Swamp. I know of 2 burial mounds out in that area. Just for some context, I do not tell anybody about those. We've had people go in and dig them up. When ITT first started developing Palm Coast, a bulldozer driver hit a burial mound and a skull popped up. And he was like, oh, wait a minute, we're going to stop. Went and told the supervisor, and they told him to bury it. So everybody came in, took bones, artifacts, whatever. So some people here, I hope that they did the right thing, but some people here have Tamaulipan Indian skulls in their house from 1971.
But this is mean that it was cemetery? Why the skulls?
Why the skulls? It was a burial ground. Now we have graveyards like I'm here, you're here, somebody's here. They would put them in layers, bury line of bodies, cover it in shell and dirt. Next line, cover shell, dirt. So it turned into 6-8 foot tall mound. It was a holy ground, just like we consider our cemeteries now. We're going to skip to the west now. This is the western border of what is going to be the westward expansion. These lakes are important to our story out there. It's speckled perch, Neoga, black, and tank. Tank Lake is because that's where the water was pumped out of for the railroads that ran through there. It became the Water Tank Lake. What was out there? One of the biggest sawmills in the area. It was first owned by a British company, and then it went to East Florida Land and Produce, who went bankrupt, and Frank Bond bought it. This sawmill picture, 1898 or so, this was his sawmill. What was important about this sawmill is Henry Flagler loved the lumber coming out of it. This article is from the St. Augustine Tribune from 1893. And it says, a letter received by one of our townsmen from a friend in St. Augustine states that Neoga lumber mills have agreed to supply Mr. Flagler with as much as 6 million feet of Florida pine lumber, which is to be furnished within 2 years' time. This amount of lumber, which is almost inconceivable in quantity, is to be used on his different projects. Mr. Flagler will make the way of hotels, stations, and other improvements along his new road, his new railroad. Another article says the big lumber mills in Neoga are to furnish the lumber for the Flagler Hotel at Nassau. It will take months for the mills to finish the order. Now, I thought Nassau, Bahamas, Nassau County, Jacksonville, is what they were talking about. Even though we did supply lumber all the way down to the Keys. When you go across the bridge going into the Keys, the original pilings came from Neoga. These are some of the folks that worked up here. This is between Neoga and Dinner Island. This is one of my favorite old pictures because it was different races in here. You had white and black, all working, doing timber work.
What year?
I believe this is from 1902. Cutting trees, not as much fun as you think. First gas-operated chainsaw was in 1924. It didn't become commercially available until the 1940s. The first one was huge. It took 2 people, what you see them using is a 12-foot version of this. This is the original cordless chainsaw. It required no power except for your arms. And I will tell you, it's not as much fun as you think it is. We had an event one time and I had kids using this. And I was on one end, the kid was on the other. And 170 kids later, I could not move my arm. They had a blast. Everybody wanted to take the little piece that we cut off. So I signed it for them. They took it home. And I have some icing on it. What else is going on out there? How about a railroad? This is Utley White's railroad. His train. Interesting man. If you've been down south on US 1 and got to DuPont, it was a happening town in the 1920s and 30s. I should have added the picture of his mansion that was out there. 3 stories, huge place, looked like the White House. That's him right there. He ran his railroad. This is a later version of it. His original railroad was carried logs and lumber. Came out of Hastings, Rollstown, Palatka area, all the way down to Daytona. Along this line. This one up here was Henry Flagler's original railroad. Went from Palatka to St. Augustine. Eventually, old Henry bought out Utley White, and that's how he had the money to start DuPont. And the railroad changed this way. All this was cut out, but this, where we at? This is the westward expansion area. It says Windermere. We know it now as Neoga. Palm Coast. Other industry that was big out there is turpentine. It's called catfish tree because of the lines going up and down like that. It looks like a cat's face. And I brought a piece of one here. If you go up and see it, you can still see the lines and some of the tree sap. This is what it was collected in. And this one doesn't have the tins, but it was little pieces of metal that were stuck in to collect the sap. Big industry, 1917, right at the beginning of Flagler County is when we really got going on it. And it lasted up until the 1950s when synthetics came in. The turpentine you buy at Home Depot is not that. It's chemically processed. It has some turpentine in it. It smells like turpentine, but it's poisonous. Original turpentine was used in medicine, believe it or not. You take that sap and chew it like chewing gum. It tastes like a wintergreen chewing gum. How do I know? Because I'm one of those fools that's got to try anything. This is the backside of Neoga. The sawmill would have been out there. This big building is the cooper shed. They made barrels and boxes. This is a turpentine still. Like I said, we had people living there up until the 1950s, actually, but Frank Bond's sawmill burnt down in 1903, and the sawmill industry just kind of died there, but the turpentine industry was really big. Alva Vanell started right there. This picture came out weird, but these are 2 houses. I've done some playing around with math because we don't have a census for it, but roughly 400 people lived out there in houses like this. It's all sawmill lumber. These pictures were taken by Ann Taylor in the 70s. None of these exist anymore. Almost all this was knocked down for timber operations, which it still is now. Entering Flagler County, notice the bullet holes? You can't have an entering Flagler County sign without bullet holes. That just wouldn't be nice. Anybody know what the road is? Not all kings. Ding, ding, ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Dixie Highway ran from the northern part of Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, down to Miami. It was not a single road. It was a network of roads. It was designed by Carl Fisher, who ran a highway from New York to Lincoln Park, California, called the Lincoln Highway. This was the second part of its plan, in conjunction with Henry Ford, who wanted to sell cars. So what better way to sell cars than have a road dedicated to them? Our section came out of Hastings down. This map's kind of wrong. You see it shows a road over here to Flagler Beach. That's 100. 100 now. Back then it was, what happened? Moody Boulevard. Isaac Moody liked the brick road so much that he had 100 originally laid with the same bricks. Everybody thinks that it's part of Dixie Highway. It wasn't. Dixie Highway came down to Corona, then went east, then down to John Anderson, as we know now. This is what it would look like in the 1920s, maybe. We came through here in 1950. This is from the Bunnell Home Builder, and it should be around Espanola. This is a big orange road. Doesn't exist anymore. Espanola does, the orange road doesn't. Going down Dixie Highway, you could have stayed at the Hunter's Inn as a boarding house. People that worked in Neoga could live there, or Espanola had a sawmill at the time. They could have lived there too. I think this is Eddie Hunter. She's the one who ran it. Then you could have stayed at the big hotel. If you go out 13 and it takes a left going towards Espanola Cemetery, that hotel is right there to the right of that turn. It's no longer there, but they had the boarding house, cafe, a post office. Neoga had a post office too. And post offices are important because that means that you have enough people to warrant the government saying, yes, you are a town, not just a settlement. Had a barbershop and a store. They had a school. Neoga had a school and an opera house that I've got to figure out. These sawmill people were going to an opera house? That doesn't sound right, but supposedly there was an opera house. The House of Mouse did not invent tourism. Dixie Highway did. After World War II, our country was pretty prosperous. Back to Ford, he started at 8-hour workday, 5-day week. So people had more time and they wanted adventures. So they would come down Dixie Highway in their Model Ts with their little metal trailer campers. And they were called tin can tourists. This was on the north side of Espanola, right at the Neoga Espanola line. Live and let live camp. You could set up your tent. If you want to stay in the tent, you could go into the boarding house or the hotel. Had a little store there, had a restaurant, and a dog. Now, if I see a picture of a dog, I gotta point that out. And you'll see in a minute why. We had famous people coming down. Anybody? Little sure shot Annie. She came through here. I don't know who else. Elvis might have came through here off of either US 1 or on Dixie Highway. He was driving a truck through and ended up getting a haircut in Bunnell. It's a true story. I'm not making it up. Annie Oakley, her husband, the chauffeur, and their dog were driving down Brick Road, Dixie Highway, in a 1919 Cadillac 10-cylinder, doing roughly 90 miles an hour. If you've ever been down Brick Road, I don't go over 40 miles an hour, and I've got a big Chevy Silverado. hauling butt. And I'll show you why you shouldn't do that in the next couple slides. She got in an accident. A car was coming north, they were going south. Her driver went off the side of the road, lost control, rolled the car, it was a convertible. She got trapped underneath. This is from the Tampa Bay Times, November 11, 1922. Annie Oakley hurt. From Daytona, November 10th. Annie Oakley of Leesburg, Florida, they were heading to Leesburg. Former horsewoman with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show is in serious condition at a local hospital suffering from a broken hip received when an automobile overturned on the Dixie Highway north of Daytona yesterday. It probably would have been right around the Corona area where she got hurt. Just one of the people that could have came through here. So what's the first big tragedy that happened besides Bond's sawmill burning down? Florida land boom. We were considered one of the greatest areas to move to. The greatest real estate development in the world. This is from 1925. Miami was still a trading post swamp at the time. There was really nothing big city-wise going. So they decided, all these developers decided, bankers decided to buy Florida up and then start creating developments. And before I keep going, I'm not anti-development. A lot of people think I am, I'm not, but it is part of our story. I'm also not pro-development. I'm pro-smart development. In our area, these two patches here were going to be subdivisions off of Dixie Highway. The bottom one is Flagler Heights, and it was just going to be like a regular kind of Bunnell. If you've been to the old side of Bunnell, how the houses are spaced out, that's what this was. But Flagler City was going to be really cool. On one side was going to be regular development, houses, way bigger lots than we had now. This other side of it was 5 to 10 acre farm parcels. It's called a gentleman's farm, less than 10 acres. The idea, because they were so far out, Bunnell is way down there. There's nothing up here to get St. Augustine. They could be self-sufficient. The farmers, the turpentine industry is still going on all through here at the same time all this. This is Neoga. The farmers would supply what the people in the subdivisions needed. They would pay the farmers. So it kind of created its own little microorganism type thing. But the Great Depression happened. And for those of y'all that don't know, the Great Depression started in Florida. They sunk so much money into Miami that in 1928, hurricane hit, took a good part of it out. They were like, okay, stuff happens, let's rebuild again. In 1929, another one hit. Lake Okeechobee was flooded, 6,000 people died. There's still bodies on the bottom of Lake Okeechobee if the gators hadn't got them. Bankers pulled out, developers got scared, pulled out. A lot of this stuff up in here, the curbing, supposedly still exists. I haven't been out there. This is private property. This is all owned by Rainier Timber, except for Dixie Highway, which is owned by the county. I don't trespass. I'm trying to be professional. I don't trespass on purpose. I want to find if the curbing's still here. They had laid the city out, and then everybody backed out. Then it went quiet for a little bit. The turpentine industry died out. but the area was still being used. Lake Neoga's got a really interesting story. He was a Boy Scout swimming in there in the early 70s. This was, for the town of Benel, this was the hangout spot, the picnic spot. Its original name was Racecourse Lake. They used to race horses around it. One of the controversial things, remember I said some of this would be controversial. On the north side of Lake Neoga, back during the Jim Crow period, white people would baptize their people. On the south side, the black people would baptize their people. Same water, same lake. There was an imaginary line that nobody crossed. But eventually everybody was in this lake. Now it's full of snakes and gators, and there's some sinker cypress that I'd love to have out of there. Oops. Isn't that pretty? Remember we talking about Utley White's Railroad? That is the roadbed. He's still a little ways up. Me and a friend of mine went out there to investigate this, and he brought me back a bell resistor. There was a telegraph line from where he came from. It would have went along this end. This is the Rainier property. That is, I think this is going to be conservation through the county. He comes back with this. We found some other stuff out there, bricks, turpentine pots, plates. But this could be a really pretty scenic drive. This goes up to Flagler Estates, where it eventually empties out. Brick Road. The bricks are still there. 2002 it was covered in sand. 2004 it was put on the National Register of Historic Places. Controversial time. 2 months ago, the plan came out that they were going to put this, either the city or the developer wanted to put overpasses across this. Not overpasses, crossovers. Which would have ate up almost 2 miles of this road. Too much damage done to a National Register site gets it pulled off of the National Registry. So I kind of lost my mind a little bit. That's why I'm a little bit balder now. I'm like, oh, heck no. We started a petition. Right now it's at almost 1,800 signatures to protect this road. Went before the county, because the county owns this road. Its real designator is County Road 13. Its real name is Dixie Highway. We call it Brick Road. County, you can't let this happen. The county said, no, you're right. We want to make this into an 8.9 mile linear park. Linear is a flat park, not just like your park across the street that has picnic tables. It'll be like a bicycle walking trail. That's still in development, but they want to protect it. The city would then have to put overpasses over it. And they are expensive. But it would wake up both sides of the western expansion development. Remember I said Andy was going south and other drivers coming north, and we're thinking, okay, there's plenty of room on the road. Well, not for Dixie Highway. What you see me pointing to are the edges of Dixie Highway. It was only 10 foot wide. See these white lines? I need roller skates. White lines. That is that. This is an early concrete. It's impregnated with stones. And it locked the brick road bricks in place. This is actually upside down, but it'll fall over. It will lock the bricks in place. These bricks sit on dirt. There is no substrata, there's no concrete, there's no nothing. It's dirt. And I'll show you why I know that in a second. It's also crowned right now. The original road was not crowned. This is a logging road. Right now, logging trucks are running. After one of the hurricanes, we had some damage. Because of Neoga's accident, they added a skirt on either side of it. That's about 2 foot wide. Made the road bigger. You didn't have to get into soft sand. That's a washout that happened underneath the road. Here's a better picture of it. That's why I know it's just sand under there. Believe it or not, those are pieces of turpentine pot. That thing. With Flagler County Historic Society, I take care of the master site files, the history sites for the county. Dixie Highway is one of the major sites I patrol. I went out there and the road was falling apart, and I spent 2 days laying bricks. This is some of the dirt that's been put over top of it. Once I got the bricks relayed, I called the county, they came in and put more dirt over it. There he is. This is Zeke, the history dog. He has probably been in more historic sites than most people ever will.
Now the preacher's been real good to me, but I know who's really been there in the jam.
This is Dixie Highway.
Lord help me be the kind of person my dog thinks I am. Dear Lord help me be the kind of person my dog thinks I am.
This was his last trip on Dixie Highway. He's probably peed on every tree out there. He's the one that brought me this. He comes trotting up the road with something blue in his mouth. I'm like, what do you got? And he just dropped it at my feet. Did not train him. His favorite thing to do, besides go out and check out historic sites and find stuff, was to kill cottonmouth snakes. He has 22 to his credit. He died a couple months after this. But I promised him I'd take care of Brick Road, since that was his favorite place to run around. Where we at? So, we are back to this map. Okay. This is the railroad, US 1. Old Kings, F section, I live right there. B section, Kansas Woods, Palm Coast Parkway. The loop road is going to go something like this. I don't have the exact coordinates. Pringle Swamp, okay, it's going to come out here. Pringle Swamp's in here. Remember the Tenukins? They were running around here. Neoga's over here. Dixie Highway. That's what it's going to look like. Again, I'm not against development. This is just an example of what's going to lay over top of the history we just talked about. Now, I just pointed out a couple of places, a few pieces. This is a list of all the historic sites that we know of out there. And I say that we know of because Pringle Swamp has not had a full survey done. Mayor Norris is trying to get an agreement with Rayonier to let me and the crew go out there and find whatever's left before it disappears. I want to find the burial mounds and make sure they're not disturbed. We're almost done. Hope I haven't bored you. This is kind of self-explanatory. I don't know how many people here are Flaglerites or Flagrarians or whatever we call ourselves. All the places I just talked about are part of our roots. Next controversial one. I am a huge fan of Teddy Roosevelt. He created our national park system, big environmentalist, didn't take anything off of anybody. Here is your country, cherish these natural wonders, cherish the natural resources, cherish the history and romance as a sacred heritage for your children and your children's children. Do not let selfish men or greedy interests skin your country, its beauty, its riches, or romance. I said it was controversial, but I don't think that everybody's selfish. It's all business. But we're losing those sites out there, or will be. I'll probably be dead and gone before it all happens, but we're trying to protect it for our kids and future generations. And that's it. Questions? Oh, I brought this up. This is a railroad spike from up to White's Railroad. Dog found too. He was chomping this thing. I'm like, what are you clicking in your mouth? I always had to worry about him because he'd come up with snakes and stuff. Anyway, question and answer time. What you got?
Who built the Old Kings Road, or not the Old Kings, the brick road coming through Flagler County?
Who built it?
Yes, who built it?
The actual,
The labor.
the labor? It was partly contracted, mostly prison. You could rent prisoners at one time. You could go to the Florida State Prison Board and just say get 100 people, 100 prisoners. They would pay the board for use of the prisoners, and the prisoners got like a penny or 10 cents a day to do this work.
Inflation.
Right?
Inflation.
Inflation?
The dollar value.
Oh, yeah. It was almost a slave labor system, because laying bricks is not fun. They had to clear the road. There was originally a trail there, kind of like King's Road. It started out as a trail that became a road. Well, Brick Road was the same way. It was a direct line, high ground, wasn't marshy and flooding. Moody's Road is different. I went out and did a historic survey of part of it through a swamp, which would have been really pretty for somebody from New York who's never seen a swamp, come down through one of our Florida swamps and there's gators laying out and stuff. The amount of mosquitoes that I got ate of would have drove them all back up north.
I got a question about this brick road.
Perfect.
I don't quite understand what is going on with this road right now. Seems like it's very empty. And when you drove to protect between the wheels and stuff. So why you don't put this bricks and put it someplace that all people in Hong Kong will enjoy, especially children? Put them in a park, in a special place that everybody can see those bricks with the dates and numbers and protect them. Because it seems like covering with some cement or some, sand and protecting the environmental disasters is not going to go anywhere. Why you don't pull all of them and put in a place like a park?
Because
Children's place or for everybody to enjoy it and see it.
Because it's going to be a park, and you're going to lose National Register.
Yeah, but they still,
You can go out there.
Brick. Yes, the brick is important. Otherwise,
Okay.
the road is not important. The brick is important.
The road is important because it was one of our first major commerce roads through. You can go out there, you can take the kids out there, you can go walk it, drive it. It's a public road. It's going to be a park. Why not pull the bricks up? I know we're about 6,000 bricks so far out in the woods. We have plans with the Historic Society to make crosswalks, seating areas. In the 1940s, and this brick is the reason I brought this one, in the 1940s they decided to pave over Dixie Highway. If you go south on 95, you see a big sign that says Dixie Highway. That was part of Dixie Highway. This still has asphalt on it. In the 40s, when they decided to do this, they told everybody, if you need bricks for a project, come get them. I've seen chimneys, I've seen flower beds, I think parts of houses built out of these. What we have, the Dixie Highway, I just pointed out, is the last 8.9 miles of brick road, not paved, exactly the way it was, out of the 5,280 miles.
Okay, so it means that we're waiting for this brick to disappear again, the rest of them?
It's illegal to take them. It's a federally illegal.
Because this is what is going to happen. The step by step, those bricks will be pulled out and disappear somewhere for the chimneys, yes?
No, you can't build chimneys out of this
I'm
anymore.
not the engineer.
Yeah. Not if it's protected as a park.
Could you repeat the question?
He asked what prompted the westward expansion. It was not originally part of the ITT plan, I can tell you that. From how I understand it's happening, the paper industry, which Rainier Timber owns that property, because we're all on our phones and tablets and whatever else, the paper industry is kind of going down. Our wood is basically pulpwood. Some of it is construction grade, but a lot of it's pulp, which makes paper. So they decided to start cutting their losses and sell it into real estate. The real estate section of Rainier is called Radiant. And there's a place up in Jacksonville, Wildlight or something like that, is their model area, and that's what they want to do here. This wasn't a city decision or county decision. I don't work for the city or county, so please do not quote me to them. But, yes ma'am.
I came here in 2004, bought property, and was learning more and more and joined the group. I have a question for you. I just can't believe that Moody Boulevard has kept its name because of the fact that I was astonished to learn that he was one of the Grand Wizards or one of the whatever. And I'm wondering, has there ever been any attempt to change Moody Boulevard to something that's not as controversial to some people?
No.
No? Okay.
Is it true that that loop is going to cost several $100 million to build?
From what I understand, just from reading, went back a little bit, I am the city historian, but I'm not a city employee, so I'm not deep into the government pieces and parts. 300-something million is the number that I've heard. A good part of that came from state funding. I don't know where the rest of it's going to come from, but somewhere between
Taxpayers.
I don't know where it's going to come from. But yeah, there's another couple $100 million that's going to have to go into it.
Right. That's the controversial part.
Yes.
Like I said, this is going to be somewhat controversial.
We have this old railroad, yes? Why is not redone? Why we don't have a train connecting us somewhere?
There is a plan for Brightline to come through. There's a plan for Brightline. It's
No,
a passenger.
I'm talking about train, about train.
Brightline is a railroad.
Yes. Brightline is still existing.
It would have to use the Flagler East Coast Railroad. Utley White's railroad is gone. So there is a plan for a railroad. passenger line in the planning.
What do you think is the most realistic compromise to see the entire brick road obviously preserved, but also to see the land surrounding it preserved, so you can kind of have in essence the park that we're talking about? Because right now the county only owns the road itself and not the surrounding 250 feet buffer. So what do you see as the most realistic way to get that accomplished, protecting an actual park, not just the road?
You want my personal opinion or a realistic one? My personal opinion is give it to me. I will be out there with a shotgun protecting all of it. This question was how do we realistically protect Brick Road and historic sites and any other area out there? It's going to take cooperation with the city, the county, Rainier, Arabian. Mayor Norris is trying to get special permission, I think I said this before, for me and the crew to go out. I'm talking to Rainier too, to go out and document the sites. But the reality is, again, it sounds like I'm dogging on developers. They can do whatever they want with their property. Most of that's already been clear cut 4 times and new production timber put in. The video of me and my dog going down the road, if you notice on the sides of the road, there's sweet gums, live oaks, whatever. Those are part of the Brick Road plan, the buffer plan. Those are the last original trees out there that we know of. It's just going to take cooperation from local government and Rainier.
What's Rainier's major objection? I mean, you're not going to be out there with a logging truck.
Well, they've got a good argument, I guess, or good concerns. If they're out there timbering and a tree falls on me, I can sue them. I'm not that stupid to go out there when they're doing that, but there are people that go out called pot hunters. I'm against it. They go out and take everything they can find, don't do the documentation. When I go out and find any of that stuff that I just pulled up, it's GPS marked, it's put into a data file. They have people running around all over the place doing that stuff. Not Rainier, just we have it. Second is, it's leased to hunters. And I was in the Army, I've had my time being shot at. I don't want to get shot at out there. I don't want to disturb the hunting. I don't want to disturb their operations. They are a business. So it's just finding the agreement. What I want is to start at Pringle Swamp, because that's where the loop road's going through, and work that area west. Supposedly Neoga is going to be the last developed, but it's just coordinating everything. Yes?
How much commercial logging is still going on in town?
Oh, God. Rainier either owns or is leased about 60% of the county. I do not know how much across the state of Florida. Believe it or not, they're based out of Washington State. They have timber tracts, Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, and a couple more states. But about 60% of our timberland is controlled by Rainier.
And once they log it, do they replant trees?
They replant them, it takes about 15 years or so before they go in and cut them again. But yeah, environmentally and business-wise, they are replanting. They're not the greatest trees, they're slash pines. Makes good pulpwood, some construction lumber. It's not like longleaf pines, which were what was growing out there in the turpentine industry, which I've got a load of lumber at home that came out of George Moody's back porch. And it's made out of yellow pine that I have to pre-drill holes to throw a nail through. It is tough, and we don't have many of those left. But they do replant for their timber operation. Your side's been awful quiet. Yes, sir, Mr. Stanley.
Here we are, making efforts to protect the historic site from 100, 200, 300 years ago.
Correct.
What's to say that in a couple of hundred years, your descendants won't be standing in a place like this, making the very same argument for what was the number for Western expansion, by which time the Western expansion could be a ruin or a historic site in itself. So where do you draw the line between what is historic and what we're doing today that inevitably is going to be looked back at a historic site at some point?
Well, right now, the city and the county are working on a preservation ordinance. Basically, it puts some rules on developing these sites. It doesn't protect everything. Believe it or not, the National Register does not really protect anything. If we want to go in and tear down the White House, we can. If we want to paint it purple with unicorns all over it, we can. It would lose its National Register designation. But I hope my kids, grandkids, great-grandkids are still fighting for this stuff, because this is a never-ending process. Right now, we're fighting for stuff that should have been fought for when Flagler County became a county. I don't know if that answers your question. It's a very complicated question. It takes people getting involved to preserve the sites. Flagler County is 574 square miles of history. That's what I tell everybody. We just covered 22,000 acres of 574 square miles. There are roughly 30 historians trying to cover all of this and defend it and protect it. I usually don't dress like this. I am usually got my snake gaiters on, a pair of camouflage pants, old t-shirt, and I'm armpit deep in a swamp somewhere. Because nobody has really, they've documented the sites, but nobody's done the work to protect them. We've got a couple of members of Flagler County Historic Society and Palm Coast Historic Society here who are part of that 30. I saw a hand go up. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a list of places in the area that are trying to get protected?
Working on it. Like I said, I work with the master site files. I have all of them at our house, 678 files of historic sites. Some of them are kind of, we found an arrowhead in the middle of 95 when we were working on a median. That's important, but it's not really important. Here's a good example. You're sitting on St. Joseph's Plantation. You're also sitting on St. Joe's Still. St. Joseph's Plantation was discovered in 1971, and an archaeologist came in with some Boy Scouts, did the whole survey, sent it up to the state. The state said, "Meh." So the county said, "Meh." And Island Walk Shopping Center, Holland Park, and boy, I just lost the name of the road that goes down. Florida Park. Palm Harbor got stuck in my head. Florida Park are sitting on top of the second largest sugar mill in Florida. If you go down to Beulah, take Beulah, put it here. We had, Joseph Hernandez had 800 acres up here. Beulah had 4,000 and 2,000 reduction. But the 800 acres stretched over to where the ICW, the Kansas River is. And we developed over it because it wasn't considered an important site. Yes, ma'am.
And part two, is there a list of cemeteries previously, where you mentioned that people are finding skulls? Is there some sort of map where these cemeteries are that we're trying to get protected?
Cemeteries are protected under state law. Burial mounds fall in a different category. They will be protected. We just got to know they're there and say they're there before a bulldozer takes them out. Sometimes they just look like a mound of dirt, push through it. it's a work that hasn't been fully documented. So we're working on that too. Yes, ma'am. Hi. I am hard of hearing for the next 32 seconds.
Are you doing these presentations in school?
I will talk about our history anywhere. If grandma has a birthday party, I will talk at her birthday party. When I was in school, we had Florida history. We had local history. It was a short period in our history classes. I don't know what happened. You know,
They have it, I just wonder if they have a big level with the pictures and the big drawings and everything.
you have no idea the stuff I could bring to a school. I've got a museum in my house. Ask my wife. She's like, oh my God, more stuff. I would love to get into the schools. All our historic societies would love to get into
Why
it.
don't put together all this stuff like we published? You know, thinking about these, what is all like features and everything.
Well, I'm in the middle of writing a book on this. I've been doing it for like 5 years. And I'll get like 4 pages done every 6 months. We are so busy trying to protect and document these sites that the fun part of it's gone, because the business part, if we don't take care of that, then it just disappears. We have at both Palm Coast Historic Society and Flagler County Historic Society and Flagler Beach, we have tons of information, tons of artifacts. I just happen to specialize in Palm Coast pre-1969 with ITT and to the west through Kings Road Historic District. Which see in the bottom left-hand corner. All these places are on Facebook. We're trying. It's a lot of work that we're a bunch of amateurs. None of us are professionals. We just happen to love our history and hate seeing it disappear. I'm probably the most outspoken out of all of us. But going to schools, wherever, church groups, well, I'll tell you our history all day long, whether it makes people mad or not. What am I first?
I just want to thank you for all you do. I mean, it sounds like it's a lot of effort. I think we all do.
It's kind of, everybody's got their weird addiction. Mine is our history. I do it for y'all, for your kids, your grandkids. Local government gets the benefit out of it. It's for y'all. Yes, ma'am.
Why don't they do the bus tours anymore? I took one years ago, but sometimes do it now. I don't do that.
We want to do them. Passenger insurance after COVID went up. It was $4,000 a year. It is almost $9,000 a year now. We lost use of the buses to the county for whatever reason. The list is still out there. We want to do it. It just became a financial problem. Well, one of the things I want to do as the historian is take people out to these sites and do lectures on site. One of my favorite places here, you know where the Reese Jones Golf Course is? Hammond Golf Course. It's off of Palm Harbor. Inside of there, well, that was a plantation at one time. It was the Eatman Plantation. The little cemetery. That is not the full cemetery. I know where 6 more unmarked graves are that I'm working to document, and I think the cemetery was bigger. I go out and do these historic site recons, for lack of a better word, and document them. I would love to take people out to the Eatman Cemetery, tell them about the Eatman family, the town of Matanzas. Y'all probably never heard of the town of Matanzas. It was the Palm Coast of its time. Grand Swamp. Do you know why it's named Grand Swamp? Colonel John Graham came down in 1792 to set up a plantation there. He came down with his 4 sons, 300 slaves, walked down King's Road, set up the plantation. It lasted 3 years, and everybody got sick from malaria, so they left. That's why it's called Grand Swamp. There's so many historic sites around here. Palm Coast has, that I know of, or I can document right now, 42 historic sites in our property, not counting that. This is just Palm Coast developed. Some of them, like I said, it might be an arrowhead. Some of them are St. Joseph's Plantation. And I'd love to take people out to these sites when it's not 900 degrees and 100% humidity and tell you the story of this history right here.
Where can we get access to that, early design, the position that you mentioned earlier?
Are you on Palm Coast Historic Society page? It's there. It's on Flagler County Historic Society. It's on Kings Road Historic District's page. Or you can type in Protect Dixie Highway. It's a change.org petition. I should have brought, I've got a thing that has a QR code on it, and of course I forgot it.
I can pull it up on my phone if you want.
This is Sierra. She's our youngest member of the Flagler County Historic Society and on our board. And if y'all think that I'm a history nut, she is just like super up and coming on this. Pete's mom said, we got a 50-50. She's telling me it's time to close this up. My problem is I could talk to you for 24 hours as long as I have enough coffee. About the history around here, we've had some great historians write books and stuff, but I go out into these sites. I've got the snake bite marks, the tick marks. I was in the swamp one time, and I'm checking a place out, and I kept feeling something bumping me in the butt. I'm like, what the hell was that? Looked back, and there was a gator bumping me in the butt. So it's probably about 4 foot. Trying to figure out what I was. It's kind of like Shrek when you go to my swamp. Alrighty. This is Evan. Everybody said hi, Evan. He is in high school, 5th grade. And don't tell everyone. Don't tell everyone.
And if he doesn't pick yours,
He's the one. I've got a swamp to hide him in.
we thank you for your generosity. The winner will get $63.
That's the most we've ever done. And the winning number is 928391. 391 B4. Bingo! Somebody right here. Here you go. All righty. What else we got? Come on, I know you got questions. I'm going to start pointing people out like a teacher. I'll hit you with my laser pointer. All right, if we don't have any more questions. Oh, I do got a question. Yes, sir.
How about asking if anybody here wants to become volunteer?
The question is, we're always looking for volunteers, sponsors, all this stuff for what we do. Like I said, we have roughly 30 people working to preserve our history. Again, I don't focus just on Palm Coast, I do the whole county. and I'm tired of running around the county. No, I'm not actually. My body's tired, my brain's, I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I wonder what happened to Hall Creek. If y'all are interested in getting involved in this, see this gentleman here? Stand up, stand up.
We need volunteers to help. We have scanning, we have trying to take inventory. Can everybody hear me?
That's why they made it.
I'm just a volunteer with the Flagler County Historical Society. Like 3 hours a week. You know, there's like, we have a museum in the now. If anybody's ever been there, free tours, everything's free, nobody's paid, all you gotta do is come out and see around. There's all sorts of stuff. But we just have all sorts of simple tasks. We want to get all our files so that they'll be online and you can find things. But we got to scan documents and get them in the system. And there's only a couple of us working on this project that will never get complete. I like that. Because it's just, things to do. Nobody wants to volunteer. A few people, every once in a while, I talk to someone and they actually show up every week on Wednesdays, 10 to 1, and we do stuff.
Here's a good example. The original newspaper for Flagler County is called the Flagler Tribune. We have every paper copy of it. Paper breaks down, it becomes a fire hazard. If I want to look something up, I've got to go there and flip through till I find what I'm looking for. If it was online, she was talking about digitizing. We want to digitize every piece of paper in there. If a student, hey, I need to do a report on something. Oh, we can send you the file for that area out of the Tribune. But it's right, we need more people. This wasn't a sales pitch. He says it was. But yeah, if y'all are interested in getting involved in this, I'll take you out in the woods and you can go get 8 up a ticks with me. You don't really got to do that. We have air conditioned places. Newfangled thing that they don't let me play in. We've got a new museum that opened up at the vault at the old courthouse. It's a women's voting rights museum. We have a lady from Flagler County who's in the Florida Women's Hall of Fame. Her name is Alice Scott Abbott. If you all like to vote, you can thank her. She helped get she was one of the women's suffragettes, and she helped women of black, white, whoever get the right to vote. And she was out of Benel. Yes, ma'am.
I got the QR code if anybody wants it.
She's got the QR code for the Protect Dixie Highway petition. You can just scan off of her phone and it'll take you to it. Any more questions?
So right now there's a petition that's going around that he discussed at the beginning, and it's about preserving Dixie Highway or the Brick Road. So we have the petition online. If you have a smartphone, even if you don't know how to scan a QR code, I can help you. So you just come up to me, scan it, and if you want to sign the petition, there's some information on there. You just fill it out.
Do you want the microphone?
No.
I'm trying to force her into more public speaking. We do tours, and I'm like, okay, here's what's going on. Take over Sierra. So she gets put on the spot.
Also, just so you know, if you do sign the petition, change.org asks you for money. You don't have to give them your money in order to sign the petition. It's a little confusing on there.
It's not a scam. What they do is they collect money and then use that to boost out the petition. We thought we were getting money. I was like, woohoo, we can buy a sign. No, that's not how it works. which made me sad. There was supposed to be a national register marker sign on Brick Road, but it just never happened. If you saw the Flagler County sign, somebody probably shoot it up.
Like the actual petition, if it just brings up change that works, if you type in.
All right, folks,
Brick Road.
we passed an hour and 12 minutes. Thank you for coming.
Change.org over.
Be a volunteer. Very good.